Sup guys, it's Alex here, and welcome to another Bracketology update. This one is for December 16th, as you can see right there. And man, after a crazy week of college basketball, to where we had 4 of the top 5 teams lose this past week. Number 1, Louisville went down. Number 3, Maryland went down. Number 4, I think it was Michigan went down, and then number 5, Ohio State went down. Something like that. It was just absolutely crazy this past week. I mean, everybody was losing all over the place. It was great to see as a college basketball fan, but man, the parity of the season is going to be great. It's going to be great for the tournament when that comes around. But without any further ado, sorry for missing last week. I've been catching up with work. I know the last week I graduated college. So, I mean, that was a great experience for me. And so we're finally done with college. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw that. Thank you guys for all of you who reached out to me. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into the bracketology. So up first in the South Regional, we have Kansas right there as the 1 seed, as you can see. Texas is now down to a 9. Arizona is down to a 5. Playing game would be BYU and Iowa. West Virginia is now up to a 6. Georgetown down to 11. Michigan down to a 3 after being a 1 seed earlier. And Xavier down to a 7, St. Mary's down to a 10, and Kentucky, Big Blue Nation, we're up to a 2, though these next couple weeks are going to be a real test of us. We got Utah on Wednesday, then Ohio State, then Louisville. It's going to be crazy. And speaking of Louisville, up here, they are still the number 1 seed in Indianapolis. Seton Hall is the 8, Northern Iowa the 12, Dayton the 4, Marquette the 6, Liberty the 11, UC Irvine moving up to a 14 to face 3 seed Baylor, and Maryland down to a 2 after losing to, I think it was Penn State. Then if we scroll down here in the West Regional, we have Gonzaga as the 1, Colorado down to an 8, VCU down to a 9. The playing game right there being Oklahoma and DePaul. Then we have Virginia down to a 3 after losing, and they just haven't even cracked 65 points in a single game this season, which is absolutely crazy. Then we got Indiana up to a 7, Arkansas down to a 10. I don't know why I had such trouble pronouncing it right there. Oregon is now up to a 2. They're one of my favorite teams to watch this season. New Mexico State is down to a 15. Then over here in New York, we got Ohio State as the 1, North Carolina down to an 8, and I'm going to touch on them later, but man, they have been looking awful recently, just losing at home to Wofford. Washington now down to a 9, Memphis up to a 5, East Tennessee State down to a 13, Penn State, another team that I really like this season so far, is now up to a 6, Purdue is down to a 7, LSU is up to a 10, and then Duke is the 2. And I'll go and show you guys the bubble here. Last 4 buys are Wichita State, Arkansas, Georgetown, and Oklahoma State. Then the last 4 in are Oklahoma, DePaul, Iowa, and BYU. First 4 out are Creighton, NC State, Illinois, and Stanford. And then the next 4 out are Houston, Mississippi State, Arizona State, and Richmond. So as you guys know, I do bracketologies now on Excel documents. We got the 2020 NCAA tournament bracket right here as an Excel file, sadly, but now that I've graduated college, I'm going to have a little bit more time to try to, I'm still working full-time, but I'm going to try to find another site or whatever, kind of like Brackify, to where it makes it easier for you guys to interact with and more visually appealing than just seeing a freaking Excel sheet. But that's the best with what I have right now, rather than writing it down on paper or something like that. So keep me posted if you guys find something that would be a lot more visually appealing and stuff. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So at first, we're obviously going to have Kansas beat Northeastern. Then we got Texas beating Utah State. Utah State's kind of been a disappointment for me this season. I thought they were going to be really good going into the season, but they just haven't shown it so far. Then I think that Iowa would beat BYU, but then lose to Arizona. Then we got Florida State beating Louisiana Tech. Then scrolling down, I'm actually going to go with Mac McClung and Georgetown beating West Virginia right here. Georgetown just absolutely mauled Syracuse over the weekend. Then we got Michigan beating Northern Kentucky. St. Mary's, I think, will lose to Xavier. Xavier's going to move on there. And then Kentucky will beat South Dakota. Then if we move down here to the bottom left part of the bracket, we got Gonzaga beating Sam Houston State, Colorado beating VCU, Villanova beating Yale, even though that one could go up in the air. Villanova's kind of been an enigma of the season. We'll kind of see how that goes. And then we got Michigan State versus Toledo. Sorry for the shift right there. We got Michigan State winning that one. Tennessee and Oklahoma and DePaul. If DePaul wins this game against Oklahoma, I think that they can beat Tennessee. And I'm actually going to go with DePaul beating Tennessee in that matchup, the 11 over the 6. Then we got Virginia beating Rider. If I can click Virginia there. Then down here we got Indiana and Arkansas. I'm going to go with Indiana beating Arkansas. Then Oregon beating New Mexico State. Mexico State, they were like an 11 or 12 seed at one point, but now they're down to a 15. Just kind of shows how they've been disappointing this season too. So if we go up to the top right regional, where Louisville is sitting, We're going to have Louisville beating the winner of Coppin State and Prairie View A&M, which would be pretty obvious. Seton Hall and Texas Tech. These are two teams going in the complete opposite direction right now. Miles Powell is out with a concussion. Don't know how long he's going to be out. But even with Miles Powell, they just haven't been performing up to what I thought they'd be this season. Then Texas Tech just knocked off number 1 Louisville, and I have a rematch with them again in the second round. San Diego State will beat North Carolina, in my opinion. San Diego State's one of the last undefeated teams in the nation. They'll be going up against one of the hottest teams in the nation, Dayton. Marquette, I think, will beat Liberty. Marcus Howard, I think, will be able to power them forward. Then Baylor's going to beat UC Irvine. Wichita State, I think, will beat Florida. I'm just not a big Florida fan this season. I mean, I was right when they were number 1 seed at the beginning of the season. I was like, there's no way they end up being a number 1 seed, and they have definitely not played up to it. Makes me happy that my prediction on that was correct. That's probably the thing I'm most proud of so far out of my preseason picks. And we got Maryland beating Eastern Washington. Then we got Ohio State beating the winner of Radford and St. Francis. North Carolina, I mean, without Cole Anthony right now, they look like a freaking bottom of the barrel mid-major team. They just look absolutely awful. That's why I'm going to go with Washington here, because it said Cole Anthony's going to be out indefinitely, and until we hear more about it, I mean, he could pull like a Kyrie Irving from 2011 and just not play the rest of the season. I mean, at this point, it might be best for him, I would say. That's why I'm going to go with Washington there. North Carolina's out of the top 25 for the first time in like 6 years. I don't even know if they'll make it back before the season's over. Then we got Memphis and Vermont. As much as I really want to pick Vermont here, you guys know I like them as an potential upset pick. I got to go with Memphis. They're too talented. They proved me wrong when they beat Tennessee. I really like them this season, especially without Wiseman. Then we got Butler, who is going to beat East Tennessee State. Penn State, I think, will beat Oklahoma State if I can click it. And then Auburn, who's another one of those teams that is undefeated so far this season. I got them beating Georgia State. Purdue, I think, will beat LSU, and then Duke will beat Colgate. And for a spot in the Sweet 16, let's go back up to the top left regional up here. We got Kansas and Texas, battle of the Big 12 schools here. I got Kansas moving on. Then we got Arizona and Florida State. I'm going to go with Arizona. I know Nico Mannion, I think is how you pronounce his name. He's been pretty impressive, but hasn't really been doing too much these past couple games. I think they turn it around and get the victory there over Florida State. Then Michigan, I think, will be able to beat Georgetown and Mac McClung. Then Kentucky, I think, will beat Xavier, which that'll set up an interesting storyline coming up in a second. Gonzaga and Colorado, I think that one's pretty obvious. You got to go with Gonzaga here. Then Villanova and Michigan State. Michigan State is now down to a 4 after being the number 1 overall seed in my preseason pick to win it all. That's not looking too good, but I think they'll be able to get the job done against Villanova right there. Now I think Virginia's going to beat DePaul. Oregon, I think, will be able to beat Indiana. I'm not too worried about that one. Then if we go over here to the top right regional, we got Louisville and Texas Tech. I mean, this game just happened. Texas Tech beat Louisville on a neutral site, and this one, even though it kind of be in Indianapolis, technically it's on a neutral site. I don't think lightning strikes twice. I think Louisville gets the victory there. Then Dayton and San Diego State. I'm going to go with Dayton. I know San Diego State's been undefeated, but Dayton's been playing really well. They beat Virginia Tech, almost beat Kansas. I mean, they took them to overtime in the Maui. I think they're going to be able to get the job done there. Then Marquette, I think, will lose to Baylor. You guys know I'm a big Marquette guy with Marcus Howard, but I mean, it's a one-man show there, and I think they're out of the top 25. So, I mean, Baylor's obviously going to win that one, in my opinion. Maryland, I think, will be able to beat Wichita State. Then we got Ohio State beating Washington. That game would be pretty good to see as a football matchup. Then we got Memphis. I think they'll be able to beat Butler. As much as I want Butler to win that matchup, I think Memphis will get the job done there in a 5-4. Penn State, I'm actually going to go with an upset here over Auburn, the 6 over the 3. Penn State has been showing that they're a force to be reckoned with after beating Maryland. I think they get the job done there, and I realized I just never clicked on Duke there. And then I think Duke will beat Purdue. Then for a spot in the Elite 8, we're going back up to the top left regional. Kansas and Arizona, battle of the 2 like really good schools in basketball. I don't know if you really want to call them blue bloods. I think Kansas ends up winning that one, and they will face Kentucky, who I think will be able to turn it around by then. Michigan has lost 3 out of their last 4 games. They're not looking like the team they were in the battle for the Atlantic, so we'll kind of see what happens there. Then if we go down here, Gonzaga and Michigan State, I think Gonzaga will be able to get the job done there. If you'd asked me that earlier in the season, I would have said Michigan State, but man, times have changed. And Virginia and Oregon, these 2 teams played. I witnessed both of them play in the NCAA tournament last year. This is going to be a different story. These 2 teams have a completely different complexion than they did last year. I think Oregon gets the job done here as the 2 seed. They've been looking really impressive recently. Then if we go up here, Louisville and Dayton, if as much as I want to pick Louisville to lose, I got to go with them beating Dayton right here. I think they'll be able to get the job done. Their guard play is going to get a lot better as the season progresses, and I think they're just a more talented team. Maryland, I think, will lose to Baylor. I know that's kind of an upset pick, with the 3 over the 2, but Baylor's been playing as a more complete team. They have better depth, and I think they'll be able to get the job done. And Ohio State and Memphis, I think that Memphis is actually going to pull off the upset here with with the 5 over the 1. I know that one's not going to be a very popular pick. I think by the time James Wiseman comes back, they'll be able to get the job done and beat Ohio State. And then they'll be facing the winner of Penn State and Duke, which I think will be Duke. So then for a spot in the Final Four, Kentucky and Kansas. As much as I want to pick my Kentucky Wildcats, I mean, I just got to go with the team I'm more familiar with, or not familiar with, but I know more about them, like college basketball wise. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I think that they're a better team right now. That's what I'm trying to say. Kansas is a more complete team, more experienced team. I think they'll be able to get the job done there against Kentucky, as much as it makes me sad to say. We'll find out more about how Kentucky does after this upcoming series. Gonzaga and Oregon. As much as I really like Oregon, I got to go with Gonzaga there. I know, boring. 2 number 1 seeds, but then that switches here. Louisville and Baylor. I'm going to go with an upset pick here with a 3 over a 1. I'm going to go with Baylor making a surprise appearance in the Final Four. That'll be pretty interesting to see, and they will face Duke. I think Mike Krzyzewski will get his team ready to play by the time the NCAA tournament rolls around. I think that they'll be able to beat Memphis, which sets up a Final Four of Kansas and Gonzaga, Baylor and Duke, 2 number 1 seeds facing off right here, and I got Gonzaga winning. Mark Few knows how to turn it on when it matters in the in the NCAA tournament. They made it to the national championship game 2 years ago against North Carolina. I think they make a return here, and they will face Duke. As much as I hate to pick Duke here, I think they get the job done and beat Baylor. But then for the national champion, I'm actually going to go with Gonzaga. I know Duke is a pretty popular pick at the moment, but Gonzaga is one of the hottest teams in the nation right now. And by one of the hottest teams, I mean they just haven't lost in the past couple of weeks. I think their one loss, I don't remember who their one loss to. I think it was to Michigan, and I think they got blown out. But you guys will have to remind me about that. But yeah, I got Gonzaga winning it all. Let me know what you guys think of my predictions. Sorry for the quick video. I know I've just been out of breath. I've been working all day. As you can see, it's like 5:56 right there. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave your own thoughts and reactions below. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all later.